Hi, this is Mayor Gary Sulz, City of Revelstoke, coming forth with what we hope to be the first of a series of communications through a brief video. Today I want to start talking about what we've experienced when we were down at UBCM. So we met with several ministries while we were there, and I'm going to just refer to notes as we go through and talk about some of the things we experienced for the benefit of the community. The first meeting we had, the CAO and myself attended the Resort Committee's Collaborative, where 14 resort communities or municipalities and provincial ministry staff, mayors, CAOs all attended. Our discussion included stability of the RMI funding, potential future uses that are not currently designated for this funding. Second ministry we met was the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and we met with Minister Selena Robinson and her staff, along with a member of the BC Housing staff. Our discussions centered around current housing projects here in the City of Revelstoke, as well as talking about some potential housing for workforce. And my suggestion was that we make some use of the Bigby School property with some modular housing for workforce in a temporary position for the next 3 years until BC Housing comes up with a plan to utilize that space. So at this point, they're still mulling that over and will get back to us. And we also talked about the potential of completely filling the apartments, or at least riverfront, for the winter, and possibly doing the renovations to that come spring. Then I met with the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Strategy staff regarding the conservation officer. We talked about having conservation officers here in the community. Conservation Service at this point is providing conservation officers at 2 at a time in a community. We rank fairly low on the scale, and they get their stats from the RAP line reports. We're about 47th in line for any conservation services. So I asked if we could have at least presence in our community using the conservation staff that are in the Golden area, and if we could get that presence for a couple days a week, then we would be able to have a little more public safety when it comes to some of the bear concerns that we have, but also dealing with some of the illegal fishing concerns. So ministry staff were hopeful with that when we talked to them about the presence. Immediately following that meeting, our MLA, Doug Kloofchuk, and myself attended a meeting with Senior Conservation Officer Doug Forstick, and basically speaking about the same issue. Doug was very positive about that and hopes to get back to us in a couple weeks to see if that's even possible. Right at the moment, staffing is in short supply in 22 different areas here in the province of BC. The third meeting that we went into was a meeting with the Premier. And so the Premier was going to give us a meeting about 6 months ago dealing with caribou recovery. We were finally able to successfully have that meeting. So in the meeting was our interim CAO, 3 of our councillors, myself. I invited Mayor Terry Rice from Sicamous, MLA Doug Kloofchuk, and MLA Greg Kylo. And the 2 MLAs were there just to hear what the Premier had to say, and they made notes for us. So going through the caribou recovery issues, I discussed Minister Donaldson's statement that he felt they had enough tools in their toolbox that we would not need to have any further reductions or additions, to habitat closure. Premier Horgan confirmed that if Mr. Donaldson said that, then indeed that is true, factual, we don't need to worry about that. And also confirmed that we will be able to sit at the table when it comes down to herd planning. So I feel it was a positive meeting with the Premier, and he's stating that all stakeholders in our community would be able to sit at the table with myself and the caribou recovery people so that we could plan those herd plans. Now, there is about 54 herds in the community or in the province that they need to deal with. 14 of them are been earmarked for advanced planning, which means they're going to start this fall. 4 of those herd plans are in the Revelstoke area, so we expect to be working on that through the fall and through the winter and coming up with a plan by spring. We also met with the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure staff regarding Trans-Canada Highway and the safety. My biggest concern out there on the highway is lane separation, because with my business, I unfortunately get to see the fatalities. And so I'm finding that more and more people are getting injured because they're crossing the center line and we're having head-on collisions. So rather than talk about what we possibly could do, one of the ministry reps and the local area manager will come meet with me. We're going to take a drive, go out to the areas that are most affected by these tragedies, and talk about how we can mitigate the problem right there while we're standing on the spot. So there's some great ideas the ministry's got. We're going to try and put those things into place and move forward with safety for our community and for our tourists as they come through the community. I also met with the Ministry of Jobs, Trade and Technology Immigration Programs branch dealing with the foreign workers program. So we talked about getting foreign workers here into the community because some of our staff or some of our businesses in the community can't find staff. And so they've asked about that. Foreign workers program is available to all people in the community who cannot get staffing and can prove that that they need it. So I know that there was a recent presentation in our community, but definitely there's some infrastructure programs there for people who are looking for employees. And also there was several seminars related to municipal programs as well as resolutions going on at UBCM with the provincial government, including a resolution to return the rural dividend fund back to the government. Premier Horgan has now announced the rural dividend fund will come back and we will be able to apply for those funds starting next year. And further to that, there was a resolution on the floor to allow locals to look after the forestry in their own areas. And we saw lots of mills being closed this year. That program will be helpful for those communities who are having issues with forestry, but also we're the poster boy for that sort of program because we have our own forest corporation and our own tree farm license, which has allowed our mills to stay open. So that's it for this week. I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to come to you through this medium. Thank you.